The following podcast is taken from a live broadcast on Inspire FM.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Sister Speak. You are here with me, Samia and Sonia.
Me, Sonia. Yeah.
Sorry. It's just the both of us today, but we're hoping that it will still be an interesting and engaging radio show for you guys, inshallah. So this is a recorded session, so you won't be able to get involved with us, interact with us live, as it's not. But once you do hear this show, if you want to interact with us via our Instagram, then that would be really great. And on your thoughts, what we're discussing today, inshallah. But yeah, just a reminder that this is a recorded show. So, Sonia, how can everyone get in touch with us if they wanted to after listening to our show? So that would just be our Instagram.
Yeah, so our Instagram page is at Sisters Speak, and you can, of course, DM us, or you can comment under any of our posts if you would like to share your thoughts.
Thank you very much. And so our show is essentially a platform for women to voice their own opinions on current events and issues, and even form discussions on general topics such as religion, culture, politics, social media, Islamophobia, etc. And if you have been listening to our shows, you will know that we do discuss a lot of things that we find interesting, and we hope you do too. Please note that all opinions and views are our own, and we respect all other opposing or similar views and opinions. So the main topic for today is balancing our professional lives with Ibadah during Ramadan. And so how can us as professionals or students maximize the time for Ibadah during Ramadan? So I picked this topic, and the reason I did it is because I'm always sort of conflicted with this, because Ramadan is a time for heightened acts of Ibadah, where we go out of our way to increase the worship that we do so that we can attain the blessings of the month. But then as professionals or as students, this can be hard to achieve, and we may find that our Ramadan Ibadah is not where we want it to be. And so at the end of the day, when we're totally exhausted, and this may leave little room for Taraweeh, or you find that work just means we do the bare minimum. And so I just wanted us to have that little discussion on how myself or how Sonia kind of makes it work. But as usual, we have the Thoughts for the Week segment, which we are going to start on now. And I'm going to ask Sonia what your thought for the week is.
My thought of the week is to try and give this week. I know it's like a Ramadan thing anyway, so hopefully you should be giving in terms of like charity. Mine just is give, even if it's something small, like give your time up for someone, help your grandparent, or give a gift of a dessert to your neighbor's house. It's just the theme of giving. That's just my thought for the week, and it has come from like Ramadan, because we tend to like give iftar to our neighbors, to our family members, to our friends, if we can't feed them in the house, because you're not able to mix households yet. Like there's still obviously rules and regulations at the moment because of corona, but you can drop off food to someone's house as long as you're doing it properly, just the same way you can get takeaway from a shop and so on. So yeah, try to give to someone this week.
Thank you so much. And I think that's really so sweet in the time of the pandemic. Like you said, for a lot of people, it can be quite a lonely experience, especially Ramadan, which as Muslims, we are used to being in communities and gatherings for our prayers or for iftar. So giving someone food and just kind of reminding them that they are reminded, it would really boost their mood, and it could help to really make their days so much better. So I love that, Sonia. So my thought for the week is essentially to not to compare yourself with other people. And I think we kind of do that a lot, like where our friends may be, where we may be in our lives, and just to see kind of, you try to match yourself up with them. And if you're not where they are, then don't feel deflated, because everyone's on their own personal journey. And sometimes we are so harsh on ourselves that we are like, we could be doing that, we could be better. But it may be the case that they look at us and think, oh, I wish I had that sort of free time, or that I was able to, do whatever it is that they were doing. So I think that we're always doing this comparison of ourselves with others. And I just wanted to say that, don't be so hard on yourself. Like, just appreciate the place that you are in, because that is where Allah wants you to be at the moment. But know that you are capable of amazing things. So, very swiftly, we're going to go on to our hot topic segment, which Sonia is going to lead. So, Sonia, over to you, please.
Thank you, Samiha. And can I just say, love your thought of the week. I think we've said something similar before on radio, and of course, why shouldn't we? It's a good reminder to yourself, you're exactly where you need to be right now. And it's comparison is the thief of joy and the thief of just like progress, honestly, because
Very true.
when we do that, we stop ourselves negative, you start thinking of things that might not even be true. No, you need to focus on yourself. Don't compare yourself to others like that. But yeah, great thought of the week. Thank you for that.
No, thank you.
It's okay. So yeah, we'll move on to our hot topics. And this week we have two hot topics. And the first one is regarding the Oscar Awards. So that has recently happened. It happened a few days ago. And we just want to speak a little bit about how people of color and also women have won Oscars. This is still a big deal, obviously, in the film industry. It's progress. We actually spoke about this recently on on one of your shows, Samiha. About how females are still kind of breaking into the media and arts industry. So I don't want to pronounce it wrong, but Chloe Zhao is a Chinese-born filmmaker, and she recently won an Oscar for the Best Director of Film, and she actually made history because never before has a female person of color taken home an Oscar for the Best Director of a film. Bear in mind, this is of course during COVID as well. So even the award ceremony was a COVID-19 ceremony. The films that were all created was still created last year or this year during a pandemic. So yeah, this year more women and people of color than ever before have taken home Oscars. And just want to speak a little bit about that. So Samiha, you actually shared an article with myself. So let's talk about that. What did it mean to you to see that?
So this actually popped up during our sort of work Instagram/Twitter carousel that we make, and someone suggested it. And as soon as I heard it, I was so excited because so I'm kind of into like representation in the media, how much of female voices being advanced, especially sort of ethnic minority voices. And so for me, I saw this and I was like, yay, this is incredible, because I think that the pandemic has been so disproportionately impacting, ethnic minority communities, that these things are like really huge wins for us, because it shows the strength and the sort of resilience that we have. And I don't mean to say that kind of in comparison to non-ethnic minority groups. But as I am from an ethnic minority community, to be able to see that and to recognize that and to think, oh wow, that's amazing, it's wonderful. And I think that it shows the efforts and the creativity really of women, and the kind of commitment that they make to advancing our cause. And I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I like that you mentioned that, yeah, you are a female and you are also a person of color. So to see that resonate, it is such a big thing because it is so important to see the representation. And like a great thing is she wasn't the only person, We also have Daniel Kaluuya. Sorry, I don't want to say it wrong again. But he's a British actor and he is black, and he won an Oscar for his best supporting actor role in Judas and the Black Messiah, which is a film that was recently released. And I've seen the reception on like social media amongst like just like the British circle. I include myself, are so happy. Like, we know him from other films, of course, and he's London born. When someone, it's like, so it feels so close, and then you're like, wow, he's gone and won an Oscar award. It's just fantastic. So, what do you think is more important for people of color? Do you think it's like showing that they're able to kind of take this route, like that we can make it, because it's still so rare and hard for people of color to even win Oscars? What do you think of that?
Um, I think that it's true how difficult it is to kind of be recognized, to make a name for yourself in such a um, sort of non-ethnic minority dominated industry. And it does give hope. But then again, it's like, that there are so few of them. And so it's kind of bittersweet because you think, wow, there is possibility. And I'm not just talking about sort of the film industry, I'm talking about journalism and just areas where ethnic minorities are underrepresented. But then it's also bitter because you think there's so few of them that, you do have to graft so much and you have to kind of find those opportunities for yourself. So it's definitely bittersweet. I'm not taking away from their amazing work ethic and amazing sort of grafting that they've done to get there. But on balance, it's kind of it's a difficult process, and it's a lot of hard work and a lot of making connections and networking and asking people for favors. It's just that kind of world, really.
Yeah, I like that you've pointed that out, because we cannot diminish the hard work that they had to do to get there. They must have had to work twice as hard. This is
100%.
what I believe. Yeah, in my own opinion, you do see them talking about it as well. Like, it's not easy for them as an ethnic minority to even get into that field, let alone excel in that field. Of
Exactly.
course, we're good at it. Of course, we're good at it, but we just never even get those opportunities in the first place. People don't want to see it sometimes. Like, no, they just stick to, making films as they have for the past 50 years or so on. So yeah, I'm glad you pointed out that hard work, but it's nice to see that hard work being put in and being recognized. It's just nice to be recognized. Let's say that. But yeah, thank you so much, Samiha, for that. And we're going to move on to our second hot topic. This hot topic is about the UK MPs who have now declared that China is committing genocide against Uyghurs in Xinjiang, which is in China. You might have seen this before in social media or just heard about it, and it's been going on for quite some time now. But it was a bit skeptical. It was kind of in the air. People don't really know what's happening. You hear a bit here, a video here, a journalist has said something here, but it's not been very clear. Um, but what's one thing that has now been recognised in the UK Parliament? There has been a vote, and it has been officially declared in the British UK Parliament that there is a genocide being committed. We just want to speak a little bit about this because, of course, it's a huge thing for this to even be recognised and for this to be something that people have, well, in the Parliament has been agreed upon. And so, Samiha, I just want to ask you, like, what's the significance of this?
Okay, so apart from the fact that it's such a huge step forward in getting justice for the Uyghur people, it's also the first time in UK history where we have recognized genocide as it is taking place. So we have recognized genocide such as the Bosnia genocide in Rwanda, but that's been after it's happened. Um, so this is the first time that we've recognized it as it is happening. And the UK Parliament did not make this decision on a whim. They had so much research that's obviously gone into this. They've had calls for evidence to as to what's happening in the Xinjiang province. And so, yeah, it's definitely a huge step forward, and it shows that our parliamentarians, they are aware and they do care about the plight of minorities around the world and the issues that matter most to their constituents. Because I know that certainly from just how, as at work, how we mobilized to get people on board, to convince their MPs to vote, for this motion that there is a genocide taking place. But I know that for a fact that so many constituents would have called up their MPs, would have emailed, would have wrote letters. And so the fact that the UK government and the MPs kind of heard or listened to us, I think that's incredible. And it has to be commended, because in these times where the pandemic has been so bleak and so difficult, the fact that this has happened is really wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I didn't know that information that you've shared, that the UK has not recognized it a genocide while it's happening. And usually we, recognize it afterwards. So I think it is a huge thing to recognize it while it's going on, because we can help them. Hopefully, this now means that the UK needs to act and the government needs to act. This is what I believe, because if you are aware of something happening now and you have the power, from even just the power of not being involved in it, then not being oppressed and not I don't know, we're not, luckily right now the UK is not really involved in anything in China, such as with the Uyghurs in Xinjiang. So hopefully that means we should be able to help them. Surely, if there is forced labor happening there, we should be able to act and help and maybe stop that. So yeah, I think that's a great point that you made, that we've never actually been able to recognize it while it's still happening. So what do you think this means for the people in China then, the ones that are, the genocide has been committed against? Do you think that means that something will happen then?
Well, I really do hope that the government follows through and acts upon this. And as you said, Sonia, that they do something about it, because there is still so much work to be done in order for there to be any sort of tangible action against, or for the Uyghur people. So Canada, the US, they've also declared it as a genocide. So I'm really hoping that more and more countries come forward, declare it as a genocide, and then take tangible action. And I think that for anyone that's listening, just look out for things that your MPs might be involved in, or sort of any organizations that are campaigning for this or campaigning for calls to action, where we can influence our MPs because we vote for them. Um, they have to represent our best interests. We can convince them to take tangible action and hold whoever the perpetrators to account, really. And I think that's what's really important. So yeah, I'm just really hoping that this isn't just a one-off motion vote, that there is going to be progress, and that the government puts forth all that's necessary in order to achieve good for the Uyghur people.
Thank you so much, Samiha. I think you've summed it up nicely, what we were both kind of getting at, and what we both feel should be done now by the UK government. But as you mentioned, that is a good step in the right direction. So it's still a good sign. And it does say a lot, because, like I said earlier, with the Uyghurs in China, it's never been clear cut when we receive the information. Personally, I feel like I see something on social media and then I receive something like a message from a family member, and they conflict, or it just doesn't really, it's not come from, say, for example, a specific news source. Like it's just been a bit all over the place, in my opinion, from what I've seen. So for it to come from the UK Parliament, from the government, to just say, actually, yes, we need to support, or we recognize that Uyghurs are being oppressed and maybe forced to do labor in China, that is, I think that is a huge thing. I can admit that is a huge thing. And I think it also kind of shows things like protesting or sharing information, and just signing petitions and writing an open letter. These things do help, because how else has it got to this stage? Because people are talking about it, because there has been protests. Protests are often televised, or we see them on the news, a lot of the times. Especially if you do, there was a protest outside the UK Parliament for this, actually, in support of the Uyghur Muslims. So, of course, the Parliament had to speak about it at one point. They had to bring it to the attention in the government. They had to speak about it because this was something that the people in London, across the UK, were taking action about. So I think it's just a good sign for people that if you're passionate about something and you really care about it and you want someone to listen, you start doing the little things, because it's eventually it builds up and someone will be listening and hopefully help or recognize the problem. But yeah, that is the conclusion for our hot topics. Two completely different hot topics, but nonetheless great and very interesting. So thank you, Samia, for choosing them. But yeah, what we'll do now is just introduce our main topic, which will be taking place in the second half of the show. So I'd like to hand it back to you now, Samia.
Thank you very much, Sonia. That was a really wonderful hot topic section that I think even though it was just the two of us, I felt like we've really got to discussing some really wonderful things. So thank you for that. So yeah, main topic, just to refresh, is going to be us discussing balancing our professional lives with Ibadah during Ramadan. And I think at the start I said I picked it just because this is my first time working while fasting, and it's been really a learning curve. So every day I'm trying to figure out how to balance working with Ibadah, and it has been quite a interesting experience. So I started off really well, and then it sort of dipped, and now I'm sort of action planning for the last 10 days so that I'm not losing out on those amazing blessings. And so yeah, I just want to start off by asking, before we head into our break, how are you juggling Ramadan and your professional life, Sonia?
Well, funny enough, it is actually my first year that I'm properly working, like as an adult, and fasting at the same time. And I think it's exactly the same as what you kind of mentioned. Like, I feel like I started off strong, I went all in. And it's ironic because I saw advice saying don't start off too strong, like be steady, and I still ignored the advice. Started off strong, and then I think there was a huge dip. Um, so yeah, it, and now today, of course, we are doing a radio show topic on this as well. So it kind of helps because it's like, let me think about what I need to do for the rest of Ramadan. Like, we still have, I think, 15, maybe 16, half the month left. So we can make it, really, really count and get those blessings, like you mentioned as well. So, in terms of the question, how I've been juggling Ramadan and my professional life, not very well, I think, but I think it can be better, and there's still time for me to improve. But the way I tried to was to come up with the routine. So, the first day, funny enough, I cannot believe this. I tried to stay up from after iftar to sehri, like sehri or sahur. Um, that's a couple of hours. That's like 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. That's a few hours. And I really thought I could stay up all that time and, pray and do some, like, maybe reading Quran if I have the chance, and also have a bit of a breather. Maybe I can go on my phone, then go back into it and eat and drink water that whole time from sunset to sunrise. What was I thinking? I couldn't do it. I was so tired the next day at work. Like, it was unreal. And then it's not fair because then at work I'm unproductive and I'm going to be tired and drowsy. And then I came home absolutely knackered that same day, not wanting to do everything. And then that's an iftar time. Could I even get iftar ready? Did I want to know? So I definitely went in way too hard at the beginning. But yeah, then I tried to come up with a routine. Would you like me to carry on, Samia? Sorry, I feel like I'm just
No,
waffling.
you're doing great. I'm actually really interested. No, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, so then I tried to come up with a routine, and I said to myself, no, so eat a little bit at iftar, which is a whole other thing when it comes to diet. You know what
Trust
I mean?
me,
Yeah.
I
Like,
totally
how
know
many
what you.
samosas are you really going to eat? Right. So I was thinking, eat a little bit at iftar, do my prayers, and then if I have the energy, feel like I can read Quran, then read it. But if not, okay, then go to sleep, Sonia. Like, you have to go to sleep. And I think because I was a student for so long, And I
Yeah,
literally just, I also mean like literally going high school and all of that. Like for so long of your life, you do it in school. And because we're obviously both of us are still quite young, then when it comes to real life, you can't do that thing anymore because
you
before you
can't.
could, yeah, exactly. You could before you could be like, oh, I'll study during the night time and I can sleep during the daytime. You can't now. You have responsibilities, right? So I said,
Oh God, I love
yes.
this.
So I said, I need to go to sleep. So I made myself go to sleep. And you know what? People wake up and they're like, 'cause I used to just struggle to do the whole sleep, wake up for Sehri, go back to sleep. I was like,
Yeah,
no, I have to. That's the only way I can do it. Otherwise, I need to make intention quite earlier on. So maybe like at 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. Do it, make the intention. But then also there's Fajr in the morning, that's like at 5 a.m. ish. So yeah, as you can tell, it would take me a while to figure it out. Like it was like almost like experimenting to
that's
see what works
okay.
best.
No,
Yeah,
definitely. And I have an interesting story to tell you. Same thing, but I will do after our break. So inshallah,
yeah.
keep you um listening to us, Sonia and I, and see you in the other segment. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Atif Nawaz. Listen to Inspire FM shows in your time by heading over to inspirefm.org or listen on Apple Podcasts or Spotify.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to Sisters Speak. You are here with me, Samiha, and drum roll,
Me, Sonia.
please. Yeah, so it's just the two of us today, but it's been a really wonderful discussion, and so excited to have you guys back. So we were talking about balancing Ramadan with Ibadah, and just sort of how we've been finding that, how we've been juggling it. And Sonia shared a very interesting story. If you don't mind me rephrasing it here, Sonia, you attempted to stay awake after iftar on your first fast all the way through to suhoor.
Yeah.
I did that a couple of nights ago and I regretted it 100% because my daughter isn't here with me. So I thought in the morning I don't have any responsibilities. I can stay awake because what's happened is my husband and I were rushing suhoor. So I thought we can't be rushing suhoor. Let me be the one to stay awake after iftar. And at 3 o'clock, I went and fell asleep in the guest bed. And thank God I woke up though. I woke up in time. I made the bed so it didn't look like I'd slept in it. Because my husband was like, you can't do this. You will crash. It's like, I'll be fine. It wasn't fine. And the next day I was exhausted and totally regretted it. And you made an interesting comment about how we managed to do this studying in like uni, college, high school, but we can't do it anymore. It's ridiculous.
No, seriously, like when I was in school, I feel like I could stay up, then I can still go to school the next day, or even at uni, I'd travel all the way to London
Exactly.
and then, be active the whole day, revising, studying, learning, attending lectures. How did we do it
I don't
before?
know. I would go all night without sleep and then all day at uni and then I'd carry on and it would just
Yeah.
be fine. But that's not what we're discussing before our show viewers get confused.
Yeah.
Although it does highlight how inadequate we've become, Sonia. It's quite embarrassing.
Yeah. We'll discuss that on another show.
Another show. But so should we be striving for a perfectly balanced day? Like if our viewers haven't already got the gist, our balancing act isn't going very well. But should we putting that kind of pressure on ourselves? Because my sister said something at the beginning and she was like, I'm working for the first time and she's not even working from home, bless her. And I think Sonia, you as well, you're going out for work. And so she's been getting up like at 6 in the morning and going to work. And so she was saying that she's kind of come to understand that Allah doesn't expect perfection, that He just wants you to try your best. But I feel like we put this kind of pressure on ourselves. So should we be striving for a perfectly balanced day?
Well, I think it is important to, again, like you said, try. We should try to balance our professional lives or our student lives with ibadah during Ramadan. Like we should actually try our best. But you make a good point in terms of I think we don't have to do everything, so if you can try doing one thing that day that is a form of worship and you feel like you've given time and actually sat down and, you know, dedicated yourself to worshipping, to anything in our religion and our faith that where you feel like, yeah, I feel like I've, you know, thoroughly done that. That's probably better than trying to do so many things and filling up all the hours. You know, like we mentioned, we feel like we need to use all the hours in the day, in the night, and stay up. No, not necessarily. It's probably better to allocate a small amount of time as long as you're doing something thoroughly and, you know, with the right intentions. So, in terms of should we strive for a perfectly balanced day? Yes, but balance, emphasis on the word balance. Like, you don't need to do too much as long as it feels like you have tried and done enough. It might feel like you don't because you're working, say, 8 hours a day or studying 10 hours a day. That's fine. It doesn't matter as long as you've tried to incorporate some kind of, you know, worship during the day. That's what I believe.
And I think that's very sound advice to anyone that's listening and even to yourself, really. I think that element of balance, and you said something about not filling up every hour with something. It's like pacing yourself. You know, they say that when you, like, for runners, they say don't, run super fast at the beginning, pace yourself. Or if you're doing a marathon, like, don't do everything all at once, save some to the end. So I think I really do like that, Sonia. And I think that's so important to remind ourselves, because as humans, we tend to put this pressure on ourselves that we should be doing more, that we should be, giving 100% when it may not be the case. And you're better off giving 50, but with quality, as opposed to 100 with less quality. So I get that. Has it been different for you, Sonia, like balancing Ibadah with Ramadan from like different years with the changes that have taken place due to COVID? So for me, I'm working from home, and it's really weird. It's although it's my first year working whilst fasting, that sort of working from home experience means that I don't actually get to shut off. Like, I'm constantly working until like 2 hours before iftar. And then even after iftar, sometimes if I need to check an email or if I need to just send something, I'm still working. And so it's been strange for me, really. And I'm not being ungrateful that I'm still working and having the comfort of home, but it's just that everything is sort of blurred together. Alhamdulillah. Sonia.
Yeah, I mean, of course, you don't sound ungrateful, but it's okay to, you know, have a comment about the situation you're in. Yeah, like I get that because I struggle with work from home anyway. But of course now, like I mentioned, I'm not working from home this year. So I am working like out and about. But the point is, the change that has happened for COVID-19 is we don't have that same congregation, or we can't meet up. I can't go to my friend's house and do iftar at her house. You can't do that. You can meet in an outdoor space, but if the weather's not nice, then there you go. You can't meet up. So the change that I felt a lot is when I was at uni, we had ISOC, which is Islamic Society, and we used to do iftars together, and it was very nice because it was people that you might not even know. It's just students from the university that need to do iftar. We're at uni, you might have an exam, or you might live too far away, you might not make it home in time. So we sit and have iftar together. And that was amazing because it really is about togetherness and community, because we encourage each other even without realizing to practice. That is, we encourage each other. Like, you'd be with your friend and you'd remind each other, like, okay, let's go pray now. It's prayer time, let's go pray. Or there's, let's read Quran like for a bit and then we'll go back to studying. You're with each other, so it just feels a bit easier. It feels it's always enjoyable, but it has that element, with your friendship, your family, like whoever you're with. When you're with someone, it is all about community at the end of the day and doing it together. So I think that was a huge thing, that you do feel the difference, because when you're by yourself, sometimes it can feel kind of lonely. So that's definitely a big change, but I don't want to sound negative, so it shouldn't be lonely. Hopefully, like, you should try and still, you've got your family, hopefully, or maybe Zoom calls or FaceTime, something to maybe feel some kind of company, during Ramadan.
I think that's very, very true. And that's a really lovely perspective as well. Thank you, Sonia. So we've discussed in the beginning how it's not been going kind of well in terms of balancing Ibadah with professional student life, but what has been your best day so far? Like, what have you got to the end of the day and thought, you know what, I feel like I gave enough time to Allah, to Ibadah, but then I also gave, the time I need to give to work, to study, whatever it is that you are occupied doing. Um, so for me, it would just be last week, the week before. It was a wonderful day. I managed to kind of pray on time, recite Quran after, and also give Layana, because she's now going to be 3. It's not just about feeding her and putting her down for a nap. It's more of a emotional and psychological comfort that I need to give, which I'm, alhamdulillah. And I managed to kind of just do all of that and get to the end of the day without being exhausted too, which was an absolute miracle. So that for me was like the best day. And we prayed Taraweeh together, because now it's like I pray and then my husband prays, so that we're looking after Layana. But that day we managed to pray together. So yeah, that was kind of like my best day. What was your best day, or what have you kind of experienced as your best day, Sonia?
Well, firstly, like your best day was fantastic,
Oh,
and I
thank
hope you
you.
can have something like that. That's all
Inshallah.
right. I hope you can have it again. Yeah, inshallah you will. And in all honesty, I don't think I've had my best day yet. Um, but I hope it will come through this month of Ramadan. Like it hasn't been that easy. I've had good days, so managing to pray on time and even at work, but I still think I need to do a little bit more. It's just the honest thing from myself. I feel like the best day has not come yet, but we do have 15, maybe 16 days left. So I'm just hopeful that it is yet to come. And maybe it could be today. Actually, I'm going to intend it to be tomorrow.
Oh, that's so sweet. And I really do hope that you have so many wonderful days to come, Sonia, inshallah, because I know that feeling of wanting to just seize the day, but then you get to the end of the day and it's like, what have I seized, you know? I totally understand. So we did discuss that we've had some not very good days. What lessons did you take from those days, or from that particular time, Sonia?
Yeah, I think we've already mentioned the difficult days. The lessons that I've taken is definitely don't try and do everything at the like straight away. We're not, superheroes, and we might not even be used to it. If you're not used to doing that, then you can't just go straight into it. You need to take baby steps. So that's something I learned myself. Like take a baby step, take your time, and that's definitely one lesson. And another lesson would be, and I mentioned this before, it's definitely more about the quality than the quantity. That's basically what I'm saying in a nutshell, isn't it? So for me, I feel like it's the quality of what you do rather than trying to squeeze in everything. And at the end of the day, it's the effort that will be rewarded anyway. It's not just the not thinking about it, just doing it. No, it needs to be with love. It needs to be because you want to and because you believe. So definitely the efforts that will be rewarded.
I think that's very important and quite empowering as well. Like you see the positive in that, and I would have to agree with you. I think from the lessons I've taken from the days where I have kind of felt like I could have done better are essentially that I need to just pick one thing that I can really go to town on, and I've kind of developed this sort of signature deed thing where it's a deed like that I can manage, that I can do, and that fulfills sort of my sort of desire to kind of maximize ibadah. And it may not be the case that we can recite pages and pages of Quran after salah, which is really a wonderful experience if you can, because we're rushing off to a meeting or whatever it is. And so the moments that we do get to catch our breath and just do simple deeds that are really fulfilling, I feel like that's really wonderful. So we've got about 30 minutes left, and I just wanted to discuss kind of I know that we have touched upon this, and maybe the last question that I asked was also somewhat kind of touching upon this, but just tips that we have picked up, or tips that maybe have been shared with us about this whole topic of balancing ibadah with our professional or student lives. And I just wanted to share one thing, which was what I mentioned literally like a couple of seconds ago about picking a signature deed. And that is, like picking a deed that you resonate with, that you connect with, and that you love, so that when you are at the end of the day wanting to do that deed, um you actually look forward to it. And so for me, it's been like, in Taraweeh, just making lots of dua. Because sometimes when you finish praying, and, for me, it's like I don't really get the chance to sit and ask dua like ardently, because I'm needing to rush off for something, or Layana's calling me. So for me, Taraweeh has been a time where I've just like really taken my du'as and embodied them in my sujood and things like that. So that's kind of been my signature deed. Have you discovered a signature deed, Sonia?
Not a signature deed as such, but in terms of a pro tip, you actually just reminded me, because I mentioned it the other day. And when you make the dua, a great thing to do is write it down. You literally just write it down on any piece of paper, on your phone, on your laptop, or whatever, because then you know what you're asking for. You can create a structure, and it's a good reminder for yourself. And following on from that, just writing something down, you can structure your day. You can say, I'm going to wake up at this time, I'm going to do my work, whatever work that is, and then I'm going to have a short nap, maybe. I'm going to pray at this time. Prayer helps you to structure your day as well. So use that and write it down. I think that's a really good tip. Is just write down how you want your day to go. Even if it's on your phone, on your notes, or on your calendar, that's probably one of the best tips I can give.
I love
And
that tip.
another thing, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Um, if you're a student, like, this is your time, guys, to flip that day around. I know we mentioned it before, but if you are able to stay up in the night, then use that time, because obviously you might not have the energy during the daytime. So you can flip that day around, I would say. Samiha, I have another point, but it's just coming to me. So I'm gonna hand it back to you while it comes back
Okay,
to me.
that's fine. I really loved what you said about sort of figuring out what works for you. So you said for students, that maybe they could sort of use the time between iftar and sahur to sort of study. I feel like that's really, really a wonderful tip, because the pandemic has really kind of usurped all our known traditions and all our sort of routines that we used to have. So I suppose before there was the kind of opportunity for us to go to the masjid or to break fast with family, and that might just take our days away and get carried away with time. But now I feel like we have more space and more time. So I love the idea of one, structuring your day, but also structuring the day to the way that you want to work. I think that's a really, really lovely idea. And you also mentioned about writing down your du'as, and I think that that's a really cool thing to do. And I love that. And I did it last year, and it was really helpful. Alhamdulillah, like I managed to ask the things that I usually forget to ask. But this year I wasn't able to, and I regret it. So maybe before the sort of last 10 days come in, I might just sit down and get that done, and I think that will be really quite helpful. Sonia, has your thought come back to you?
Yeah, it has actually. But just following on from what you said, is the duas, like, it's not too late. You can
Yeah.
do that every day, throughout the day, day and night. So still write it down, even if it doesn't feel like something you want to write down. You've got your phones maybe, or just anywhere private. Because I know sometimes it just feels like that thing, like it's my personal thing. Yeah, that's fine. Like, you don't need no one saying show it to anyone. Just write it down for yourself. And also, yeah, I mentioned earlier, try to structure it as well. It helps you just get your mind straight. But yeah, regarding the thought that came back to me, it's because it was more like a clarification, because I did say, like, work out how your day can be used and don't try to fit too many things in. But what I will say is try not to waste the day sleeping, because so often, you obviously, if you're going to sleep at night, say 6 a.m., if you've stayed up, now you're thinking, okay, yeah, I'm going to sleep, I'm tired, I'm knackered. But then so don't wake up at afternoon, 2 3 or 3 p.m., because that is truly, then it feels like a waste of it. Sometimes 4 p.m., 5 p.m., that's just ridiculous. This is my personal opinion, but I say try not to. And it's advice to myself, really. Like, yeah, okay, if you need a nap, have a nap, but really, truly do not try and waste the time sleeping. Like this month is so special. We can get so much from it just by doing, not even doing a lot, just by doing a little, you can get so much. So, and not to sound like a lecture here now, but again, it is to myself before anyone else. I'd say try not to waste the day sleeping. In contrast to what I said earlier, which was make sure you don't squeeze too much in.
No, I love that. And as like when we were in our teens, sleep during Ramadan, like we used to say, oh, it's an ibadah to sleep as well. And so we just sleep for ages and wake up for like Dhuhr or just before Asr. But then the other day, my sister, she messaged me at 10 a.m. on a Sunday, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're awake. She was like, yeah, sleep is a little overrated, especially during fasting. Like, I don't know what we thought when we were sleeping till like 2, 3 in the afternoon. And I was like, so true, because I feel like when we wait, not judgmental, not to kind of put down people who do sleep till that time, because you may need to sleep till that time, because you might just work night shifts and things like that. But just as a general, like just sort of using up the time sleeping. When you do wake up, you feel terrible. Like, oh my gosh, I could have done so much in that time. And so,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean, Sonia? Like,
Yeah, but like again, like you said, it's not, we're not even saying it in a bad way. Like obviously rest and obviously try and get
yeah.
as much as you can. We're not saying walk around with eye bags every day, of course not. But now, literally speaking, from today, we've got a few days of a few weeks, maybe of Ramadan left. Let's just, for ourselves, we say it for ourselves more than anyone. Let's try and make the
Yep.
most of it and get, make use of our days and have the best quality of worship.
Inshallah. And I think that's such a wonderful message that, like in your own capacity, in your own space, in your own abilities, just to make use of the time that we have left, and to kind of go forth into the rest of the days with maybe a renewed purpose, like renew your intentions, renew your purpose. And if you are, for whatever reason, not fasting, and if for obvious reasons you're not able to engage in like actual like salah, things like that, then maybe use the time that you have to kind of fill it with other acts of ibadah that will also give you the wonderful rewards of Ramadan. So the final thing I wanted to ask Sonia is, what will you tell yourself going forward? So what will be like what for the future, for next year's Ramadan, bi'idhnillah, that we are able to witness it, what will you tell
Yeah.
yourself? What will you do different?
Honestly, I would try to prepare from earlier on, because you can't just go in straight first day and then adjust. Yeah, you can go straight first day and then start adjusting. This is what I did this year, and as I mentioned, I was almost experimenting, like, oh, when should I stay up, when should I sleep, how much should I eat? And like, I'm a big age now, I have been doing this for a few years, so I should be able to prepare myself. I personally need to prepare from before the month of Ramadan, so even if that means eating slightly less in the days coming up to it, or adjusting my sleep pattern, or starting to wake up for Fajr, because on a normal day, I'm gonna be honest, like I don't often wake up in the morning. Hopefully I will. So that's something that I could change. So the key word here in how I would change, and say to myself, like, how I can help myself for the month of Ramadan, is make sure I try to prepare from slightly earlier.
And I think that's very honest, very candid, but so true. And yeah, I 100% agree that I need to start figuring out my action plan before Ramadan itself. And definitely. And if I was to tell myself one thing, I would say that have a clear strategy. Where do you want to be at the end of 10 days, at the end of 20, at the end of 30? And also give myself like goals. And I think that I'm kind of a person that wants to meet deadlines, meet goals. So I should really have done that, because that would have kind of motivated me to get things done. So whether it's memorizing a surah, or to like, I don't know, read an entire book on a specific subject, so that I leave Ramadan having gained something and not sort of stayed the same.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like that a lot, actually, Samiha. I just wanted to say, like,
thank you.
regarding, having a plan of action, a strategy, find one thing that you might do, like memorizing a surah. I think that's such a good point because so often, me myself, I kind of just go in a bit, I don't say aimlessly, but just like, yeah, I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll do this. No, let's have an actual plan of action here, because then when you do achieve it, you can be really proud of yourself. Like,
Exactly.
I wanted to do that and I was able to achieve that. Obviously, alter it as you go along if you can manage more or less. But I think that's a great point. So thanks for that. I'm gonna take
That's
that tip. Thank
okay.
you.
No, that's fine. And I think we're creatures that want to feel good about ourselves at the end of the day. So I think that's a really
Yeah.
wonderful way to do it. And yeah, Jazakallah khairan, Sonia. This has been a really lovely discussion. And I think we touched upon some really important points. And I think we did some self reflection as well. And we were very candid and honest. And so I hope that those of you that are listening found this to be a useful discussion. And I just want to say again that this is a recorded session. So please do not text or call in to the studio. But if you do listen and you want to let us know what your thoughts were, then you can get in touch with us through our Instagram, which I believe Sonia will share with us.
Yeah, so our Instagram page is at Sisters Speak. And when you come to it and if you want to leave a comment, you can under any of our posts. You can also direct message us and a DM. And of course, we're happy to hear your thoughts. We're always looking for your ideas, suggestions, and what you thought of our show. And any comments you'd like to make, I'd love to hear it.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I hope that the rest of your Ramadans go really well, and just include us in your du'as, inshallah. And I hope that anything we've said here, if it is useful for you, then that's wonderful. But if anything we said here was just like, what are you guys talking about? Then we do apologize.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah.
I don't know if you want to say anything about that, because it's Ramadan and it's just like getting close to iftar when we are recording this. Sorry, but yes. So inshallah, we hope to see you at our next show. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Why not tune in to our live stream at inspirefm.org and follow and subscribe to our social media platforms at Inspire FM Luton.